Hello everyone. Today we're modelling a bottle of a glass bottle of Harrogate spring water. If you've seen these bottles in the supermarket or out and about, you'll notice that they've got quite like a distinctive knurling pattern on the glass, and it's something that that's been set on my desk to model up because in my work in lighting, using that kind of knurling pattern on see-through stuff, we use it in lenses quite a lot, and I'd never really found a good workaround, but Solidworks have added in a feature in 2019 which allows us to do that quite easily. So you saw me just modeling up a label really quickly there because I could not find a full graphic of a label anywhere online. And to complete the render, it's not really necessary for the task, but to complete the overall effect of the image, I did make a graphic of a label which we'll use as a decal later. This process so far is just simply a revolve to make the bottle, tracing around again an image of the bottle, adding a couple of fillets and shelling it out to hollow out the bottle for the final render. Add in a thick glossy glass, and essentially that's the bottle done. Now we're going into the 3D materials, and essentially that just pulls in a black-white map. And what happens is when we apply it as a 3D texture, what it's going to do is wherever there's light, it's going to be able to kind of form a 3D bump, and it will physically mold the material around that bump. This kind of what you'd get more in like 3D, I don't know, Cinema 4D or Blender or those kind of programs which really deal with details like that. But they've put it in here, and if you go and apply it, you can see it breaks down the surface into a really fine mesh, and you can play around with what Solidworks is going to do to your 3D geometry, and it pulls out quite a realistic, true to the image, true to the real life bottle. There we go. Knurling, and I was pretty happy with that. That took about 10 minutes to get to that, and something I've been toying around with on and off for years to get to a realistic effect like that. So I was really pleased with how quickly that feature that they added in worked for me. So just now, the last things, the rest of this video might as well just be called gratuitous to finish a render. So I'm just quickly modeling up a lid, and to be honest, the lid took me longer than the bottle because it's got crazy little patterns. I shouldn't have put this much effort into it, but when you've gone all that way to make the bottle look really swish, and having the lid let it down is really not what I wanted. It ended up letting me down anyway because it was doesn't come out quite right, but I wasn't going to spend ages on the lid when I'd learned what I wanted to learn from the feature. So we'll just let this run. I think it was difficult because you wouldn't actually manufacture this part as it is in finished. Essentially, when it's in the factory, it's a small piece of flat material which gets pressed over the top of the bottle, or pressed into the right shape and ground onto the bottle, one or the other. And so it was quite difficult to get there, and it's more of an artistic approach than a scientific approach to making this part. And looking at the little bump details on the top, and I didn't even get this right in the end, but it was something like an ode to the actual end features. And if I could have sped this section up any more, I probably would have, but we're nearly done. Blending in the edges, and that'll do. It's a cap, looks like a cap. So the next section was to create the label, but because of the way that the geometry was broken down by that 3D mapping, I couldn't actually work on that face, so I had to just essentially guess. Well, I went for a bit of a rigmarole. My geometry disappeared, so I've cut that bit out luckily. But anyway, by the by, we got there. we made a label, and now we're bringing in an assembly, putting it onto place, which is tedious to watch now. There we go. Add in a couple of textures, so when you see through the glass, it's white on the inside. Put it in roughly the right place, put the lid in the right place, realizing that the lid in proportion to the bottle is too short, so I'm going to scale up the lid. Scale up the lid too big, then just about right. And there we have the finished article. We put it into a scene, checking which scene is going to work best for it. And that's come out quite nice. Now going to offset the geometry to the scene so we get the floor shadow so it looks a bit more real. And then I had a bit of an experiment trying to add water to it, but it essentially added black oil to it, which is something I think is a glitch in Solidworks, which it doesn't like rendering anything see-through through something else see-through, something that I'll have to work on at another time. So that was I had made a model of the water that would be inside and added water to it, but it came out like black liquid. It looked pretty cool, but anyway, that was the end result through the render. And then I just did a quick little bit of Photoshop, learned another thing in Photoshop, how to make little water droplets. So that was that. Pretty good. Thanks for watching.